Our next speaker will share his experience in this new and exciting field for designers to explore in our upcoming talk, Digital Innovation. He's an architect, innovator designer, and a partner at Shepherd Studio. He specialized in 3D software systems and digital manufacturing. Please welcome to the stage the architect Abdullah bin Hindi.
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here. My name's Abdullah bin Hindi, and I'm an architect, artist, and toy maker. I'm a partner at Shepherd Studio and the founder of Toyo. Toyo is a company that specializes in the creation of bespoke designer toys and collectibles. So toys is an interesting direction that I chose, and coming from an architectural background, it's completely off-field, let's say. One thing I'd like to say is that exploration of these characters has allowed me to really jump into my craft in a way that I haven't really expected before. And toys have been a great influence on me ever since I've been a young child. And it's ranged from Power Rangers, Pokemon, to whatever I've been playing with or watching at the time. And then from the physical side of things, it grew into digital, from video games as well. And then later on, it developed as the more I got into art as well, into designer toys such as Cause, Mighty Jacks, and these artists and characters as well. So toys have really solidified the idea of questioning value in a sense. Value really is something that begs to question on a day-to-day basis, especially when you're dealing in such a subjective field as art. So, for example, what does value mean to us? Everyone will have a different answer. Some might say that value means anything that I can hold, or value is sentimental. I think it begs the question that it kind of goes hand in hand with the saying that beauty lies in the eye of the beholder. It's the same thing here as well. For example, look at the Mona Lisa. It's a masterful work by the artist Leonardo da Vinci, but Leonardo da Vinci wasn't just an artist, he was an engineer, he did a bunch of things. So to some in the art world, you'd say, this is an extremely high value piece, and it's something that cannot be bought in a sense. Some would say it's priceless, although it does carry a hefty price tag. It is arguably high value. So traditionally speaking, we always thought of, or at least I've grown up in the understanding art to be something tangible. Sculpture, paintings, trinkets, you name it. Anything that can be held somehow carries value. So how do we question this? How can we get to the idea, or kind of dig into the core of what the value is and what we can extract out of it, and how can we attach it to ourselves? So let's fast forward into an artist I've learned about when I was starting out my journey in 3D just before heading to university. So I was a young and keen student just about to head into architecture. And I thought to myself, okay, I have no digital skills. I know how to draw just a bit. And I can, I guess, paint. I wasn't that good at it. So I decided to pick up 3D modeling. So through my exploration of 3D art and my experimentation in 3D art, I looked up to many different artists in the digital and physical space as well. Beeple was one of them. He was notorious for creating these series called Everydays. And as the name suggests, they were basically pieces that he'd put up every single day, and he's been doing that for about 10 years and still going on strong. So Beeple introduced the idea of NFTs to me, maybe about, not to me personally, but he introduced it about a year ago. And just as many just as many have seen as well on his Instagram feed, they thought, what is NFT? I'm sure it doesn't really apply to me, so I just kind of moved on and went about my day and just decided, you know what, I'm just going to keep doing my work and posting it on Instagram, getting a few likes, and then burying it by the next art piece that I post. So later on, a few months, things develop, and then NFTs become the buzzword, and then people comes back up again in such a bigger fashion this time around. There you hear him partnering up with Christie's, one of the major art houses that do auctions and deal with the high-profile artists. And then suddenly, this kind of sparks a huge boom in the creative industry, or more specifically in the art industry, because what was the result of a partnership with Christie's ended up in selling a digital art piece, which was a collage of 5,000 of his everyday series artworks. And it was sold for a hefty price of $69 million. And imagine that, let that sink in. A digital piece of art sold for $69 million. And now, people are saying, why? I could just right-click and save that image. But no, they bought the token. They bought the idea, or basically the ID, or the certificate of authenticity towards or behind that piece. So people started saying, okay, this is probably can do something for me. And as many other artists, I decided to join the space. And I thought to myself, okay, this is where I can add value to my work, because my work was all digital. I was dealing very little in the physical space aside from my architectural work, or maybe even a product here and there as part of the studio. So then, I did these series of collages, or these 2D illustrations. These are my Titans collection. So basically, I was at the time where I was kind of moving about and not really stationed in one place. So I didn't really have the hardware power to deal with like my usual 3D renders that are a lot more power and time consuming. So what I do is walk around, take photos of statues, put them in these cosmic scenes, and kind of create a world around them and create like an alternate history or a timeline that never was. So when the idea of NFTs clicked in my mind, I decided, you know what, I'm going to explore and start to experiment. I'm going to just jump the trend. I don't care if it's going to fail in like a day or two. I'm going to try it. So I started going into these open platforms and just putting up these works for sale. Nobody bought them, but it was a good learning experience because I got to see the ins and outs of the space. I got to meet so many people. I got to integrate myself into the space as well. So that's what the NFTs have brought me in terms of value, aside from monetary gain. I managed to forge new connections, connect with different audiences around the world as well. Like people know of some guy from Bahrain's work, and they're all the way in Nigeria, and we just met over Twitter a few days ago. Who would have thought? So I then kept on exploring further with my 3D artwork, and then I decided to go on to the more exclusive sites as I kind of moved on and gained a few connections, started to get invited to certain platforms, and that's where I decided to experiment with. So the key idea is experimentation. And what the exploration or the experimentation with blockchain, or NFTs and the blockchain that kind of backs everything up, is that I realized the benefits of it, and the benefits being the decentralization aspect of it. Decentralization of everything makes things untamperable. It makes things a little more safe, or secure at least. No one source can be modified without it being confirmed on a bunch of different computers. So once it's there, it can't be changed. So this kind of removes the idea or the potential for malpractice or any sort of external manipulation. And one other thing is that it's the transparency behind everything. The transparency meaning that everything is recorded. It's basically like a digital logbook where everything is recorded, all transactions are recorded, everything can have a history. So for example, if I buy an art piece from an artist friend of mine, and then I buy it, and then 10 other people keep buying it from me. So that history is recorded. You're never in a place where there's a gray area in the history of an item or a token or a piece of art. And it's also verifiable. For example, I deal with characters that I've created in my toys. So for example, I'm not sure, maybe you have seen the Karak monster or maybe even the Hamur figure. These are characters I've designed, and I want to kind of build a world around them. And I initially wanted, or I've been told that I should explore the idea of trying to get like patents, protecting my IP, and even just talking about trademarking. So like the fearful designer I said, okay, yeah, I should do this because I don't want people to steal my stuff. So I went around and I started looking, and I was just shocked by how expensive it was to trademark and patent stuff, especially around the GCC, let alone the world. So I kind of did like a local patent just in Bahrain, but then I thought, okay, if this is such a permanent space and it's something that can be traced and tracked, why don't I just put all of my characters up as NFTs and just have them there on the blockchain, where if something happens later on, I can prove that the idea is traced back to me. So I wanted to use that to my benefit. And the fact that every token is unique as well. So think of each token having its own digital fingerprint, where each one in its own right is unique. You can trace everything back to the artist or the source, let's say. And no two NFTs are alike. You may have the same artwork in a couple of editions. For example, one artist drops a piece that's 5 editions, or like prints that are digitally scanned and sold as tokens. Those can be replicated, but still, each replication is a unique replication in its own right. There's no two that are alike. So I think that's what is so great about this. And it also offers a completely unique ownership experience. So if you really think about it, no two people can own the same token, even though it's replicated, or not replicated, but they're of the same artwork, let's say. So aside from the unique ownership experience, like only one person will be able to actually own that piece, and because it's verifiable, nobody will actually kind of dispute that. If you really think about it, like I commented earlier, anyone can say, I'd right click and save, yeah, but you don't actually own it. You just kind of downloaded it and that's it. So the blockchain itself as a technology is backing all of this art at the moment. But right now it's only being seen in art because that's where the boom happened. It can be applied to so many more things. For example, imagine next year's Tanween's tickets could be in the form of NFTs, and they're just run through the blockchain. And for example, you walking around in the supermarket, you want to buy a bag of coffee. The coffee can have a token attached to it, even though it's a physical item. And that can be traced all the way back to the coffee farmers in whichever country the coffee is sourced from. And another benefit as well is the alternative financial opportunity, let's say, for artists. This gives artists creative freedom or creative liberation because of its smart contracts. Smart contracts essentially allow people to write in a unique set of parameters or code that's basically executed once certain parameters are met. So for example, me as an artist or anyone else as an artist can put in royalties, which allow in turn long-term sustainability and scalability of their artistic endeavors, or in a sense, scale their artistic business. So recently, I managed to, or I heard this in a conversation, just thrown really casually, the word phygital. Now that blew my mind, honestly. I wasn't expecting to hear the word phygital thrown at me when I was just listening in some random clubhouse room about NFTs a few months back. So it's a mouthful. Phygital brings the physical and digital together. So recently, ever since I started Toyo, I decided to create toys, and they were physical. But they weren't always physical. They started off as 3D models, 3D renders, and something that's just on a screen. So it's somehow wasn't considered valuable until it became something that's being held. So once I got into the NFT world, I said, okay, I'm done exploring. I've experimented with everything. I know how everything works. I put up all my pieces up, and now I have nothing left except my toys. And I've been marketing my toys in the more traditional sense. I was sending it to people, talking to people about them, and just regular social media shares. So I thought to myself, okay, I want to protect the IP, and I want it to be kind of permanent, and I want to have fun with it, and I want to experiment as well. It's technically a finished product, but why can't I experiment further? There's no such thing as complete. There's no such thing as perfect. So let's take it to another level. I decided, you know what? I'm going to make Karak into NFTs. So my Karak monsters ended up being in different shapes and sizes, colors. You've got silver, gold, holographic, carbon fiber, bacteria, denim. It doesn't matter. It's just the idea behind offering you an actual digital asset. And the digital asset will basically unlock digital goods, in a sense. You'd get like a video and a photo that you can use as your social media avatar. So aside from that, you'd also get a physical toy. So pairing the digital with the physical allowed me to kind of set myself slightly ahead of the people who are just focusing on one thing or the other. And through the use of NFT as a tool, it allowed me to really explore this avenue, especially in that kind of scene, because that kind of scene was pretty new, and I've only met a handful of people from the region that are knowledgeable or at least even involved in the space. So my idea is basically to explore. And the further you explore and play with the ideas you want to kind of carry over, or at least don't ever stop yourself at a what-if moment. Because if I want to leave you with anything, it's going to be experiment. That's kind of at the heart or at the core of what I've been doing and what I have been, or what I will continue to do. And honestly, if it weren't for the exploration and the experimentation and the development, I wouldn't have been able to kind of stumble upon NFTs as a concept or as a technology. It's something that kind of enriches your journey. You shouldn't really stop and say that I reached a certain point in my career, or for example, you could be a master of your craft, but still yet know nothing because you just looked at one thing. Always experiment. So for example, if I just had stopped at these 2D illustrations, I wouldn't have gotten into 3D, but I kind of had to force myself to get into 3D because, you know what, I need to experiment to actually learn and better myself, especially since I was going to go into a degree that utilizes 3D on a daily basis. So, okay, I moved on to 3D. I was doing these renders, I was having a lot of fun, I still have fun, I'm still gonna keep doing them, although I'm preoccupied with toys at the moment. And then I naturally moved on to toys. So that was in and of itself still digital. So I said, okay, I need to take this to another level. So that's where I decided to actually look into manufacturing, 3D printing, all these different technologies. That helped me to bring my toys to life. So once I did that, I thought, okay, great, I'm at a really a good point, I'm at a really great place as well. So where can I take this further? And then that's where I ran into NFTs, blockchain, and crypto art. They call that crypto art because most of the occurrences are using digital currencies or cryptocurrencies. So using NFTs, I've just realized that I've stumbled into an avenue that has not been explored at all here. And right now we're only seeing art, but it's only the beginning. And I mean it when I say it's only the beginning, because if you are involved in that in any sense, you'll always hear people say that it's so early. And every time I keep telling myself, yeah, they're just saying that though. Is it? It does feel like I missed out on a lot. Because honestly, in that kind of world, 1 week seems like a year. So I've been in this for about a year now, and it feels like I've been there for 10 years now. So always experiment. Always try to push yourself. Always try to get more out of what you're doing. Always question yourself. Don't question yourself in the bad way. Question of yourself in the way of how can I elevate things? How can I explore? How can I add more? I want to add value. So that goes back to our original question of value. Having learned all of this, I realized that we are living in an age that value can be, let's just say that value is not one specific thing, but it's everything. And at the same time, we're living in an age where potentially a picture of an ape can go head to head with Da Vinci's Mona Lisa. So that's kind of what I want to leave you at. I want you to explore. I want you to kind of improve on yourselves and always question and see what you can do. Don't just stop. Keep exploring. Experimentation lies at the heart of everything, and it's the future, and NFTs is just only one thing, and it's just a matter of time before it reaches us, and I'm just happy that I get to share this with you all. And I hope you managed to learn something useful or gain value out of this talk. And I really want to thank you for having me over and listening to this talk. And I hope that if you are interested, you can always reach out to me, and I'll be there to answer any of your questions and onboard anyone into NFTs or blockchain and answer any running questions you may have. So thank you so much. And it's been a pleasure talking. And thank you so much. I'll see you soon.
Thank you so much, Abdullah. Thank you so much for the interesting talk, or should I say, digital talk?
Digital, yeah, exactly.
It's an interesting word, huh?
Oh, yeah, too interesting.
I will open the floor for questions.
I have a question, actually.
Okay.
Yes, go ahead.
I come from an arts background, so I'm
Yeah.
actually an artist, and I'm really interested in hearing about your take on the future of crypto art and NFT, because it's a bit intimidating to me as an artist.
Okay. It does seem quite intimidating when you're looking at it from the bottom of the mountain, you know? But as soon as you take one step in, you take another step and another step, you realize that, you know, it's not so bad. It's all about the power of the small steps where you look back and you said, oh, I did all of that. So it's just a lot of small things put together make one big thing. So just take yourself at the pace you're comfortable with. Try to learn what you can, and at the same time, ask around. There's so many people to ask, and I'm more than happy to help anyone who's interested as well.
Amazing, thank you.
Amazing answer. Do you have any questions? Anybody has a comment?
There's a question
there.
here.
So you as an artist, what do you think of NFTs بشكل عام being popular? Do you think it's because of social media? Do you think it's because artists want to trademark their art? Or is it just, as they say, an internet meme? Because you can see on Instagram, they're laughing at the fact that you can just screenshot the picture and just not care about the value becoming millions and millions of dollars just for a picture. Like the Bored Ape, and the Bored Ape one is becoming more and more popular. It's becoming more and more expensive in the NFT world. So what do you think of it being more popular?
At the moment, I do think that a significant portion of the people involved are going in it for the monetary gain. But I feel like as soon as that that trend slows down just a little with those kind of groups at least, it's going to flourish even further, because the people who still remain in it are serious about it, and those who are trying to not take advantage. Because I've honestly seen like celebrities, for example, coming in to do NFT drops, and people just spend an exorbitant amount of money on them, and then they just age so poorly because it just obviously seems like a cash grab. The people who are really in it to actually experiment and see where they can take their art are thinking a lot more long-term and a lot more sustainable. So I think this is something that may stay, and you're going to see a lot of people going in it for the quick wins, but only a few will actually stay there for the long run.
Interesting. Do we have any more questions from the audience? Any more question? Good, so I can answer you. Oh, there's a question here. Okay.
how do you think artists like you who are already involved in the NFT world can help other artists in the region get involved into the NFT world? Artists who are having cold feet, who are not really, I'd say, comfortable walking into this new world. How can you help them physically, not with your words, but how can you do it physically with them? Thank you.
So that's a great question, because I was at that point as well at some point. And as someone who just kind of stumbled upon it, I had no one to ask. I just kind of looked around and gotten onto Twitter, and half the times I was being responded by silly answers, memes sometimes, but then I just kept exploring and trying out. But so the way I can help, at least in my mind, I'm more than happy as well, is anytime someone has any questions, I'm more than happy to reach out via social media, email, and answer any questions and help you with any let's say, like she put it, cold feet that you may have, because it is kind of an intimidating world, especially when you think about the technical terms. Like people say, oh, you need a digital wallet, and you need to know this and that and this and that. But in reality, it's quite simple, because you just have to kind of do it. Just be a little careful, take yourself at your own pace, and it's all going to happen. I think it's just a matter of time until it reaches our region and
popularity
and becomes more popular with the artists and who take it more seriously. And I think it's only a matter of time, maybe a couple of years or maybe even longer, where it will be implemented into other things. Right now, art is only one avenue of it, as I mentioned earlier. Its potential is quite vast.
Yes. I think it's a great, actually, also a business opportunity. So people should answer you with a business. Yeah. So consultations or doing the whole process, just sending your image and they steal it from you and they put NFT on
that can work, that can work. If you have any questions.
Yes. Any more questions from the audience? I got one more question, not about NFT.
Okay.
You know where I'm interested in mainly in 3D printing. So as an architect, have you seen a model that been done using 3D printing, additive manufacturing, that blowed your mind? You thought we can do it with modeling, but when 3D printing came in the game, it made a lot of difference.
Yeah, but I would say this answer, but it's very rare that I've seen like physical models actually impress me to that point. I've seen 3D printed pavilions, and the way they do everything and the execution behind everything is just absolutely insane. And in that front, yes, 3D printing has been or has evolved to a point that's kind of beyond comprehension. If you were to ask anyone who was just dabbling in 3D printing a few years ago, for example, if you were in 2012, someone said, I could build you a house with 3D printing, you'd say, no, I don't think so.
Come on.
Yeah, but now it's possible, and you see it. And you see it. So yeah, I think definitely there is a place for it, and it's growing. And yes, I have been amazed a bunch of times, but I haven't seen like 3D printing or sculptures coming to NFT just yet.
Oh, okay. So as a physical
item, yes, 100%. Yes, I've seen amazing examples of amazing artists and architects do things, be it in the built environment or in the medical fields. So many other utilizations of the 3D printing technology. Yes.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Abdullah, for the interesting talk. We learned a lot. It was actually quite interesting. Thank you so much for visiting us also in Khubar. I know you're coming all the way from
it's my absolute
different
pleasure.
country, but that was amazing.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Abdullah, thank you so much.